So, my name is Jacob Rosenbaum. This is my spoiler free review of The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. I really liked this book a lot. It'd been on my list of books to read for a really long time. Um, it's been out for a really long time too. It was released August 31st of 2010. I was 8 years old when it was released. If you feel old because I just told you that fact, I don't feel any sorrow for you. I'm sorry. There are a couple different things that I wasn't a big fan of with the book, and I'll start with those first to get them off my chest, so then I can talk about the other stuff that I really like. The first thing is this, and you might be thinking, Rosie, this is just the book. Yes, I know. But there's a difference between this and this. Okay? The difference is, you might be able to, maybe you can't tell on that. If I put them on top of each other here, focus. Look how much bigger this little one is. And no, it's not because of print size or anything like that. Although it might be a little bit of. This book has about 500 more pages of the book than this book. This book is part one. And I didn't realize that when I started reading it. So I read this book, finished the book, felt pretty good about it. I was like, you know what? It's a pretty good book. I enjoyed that. Then I was like, okay, I'm ready for book two. It felt like the end of the book. And then I think at the end of the book somewhere. Yeah, so the author's note at the end of the book by Brandon Sanderson, I'll read it for you. I look forward to seeing you back for part two of this Galan's, I'm not saying that word right, edition of The Way of Kings. So the only way I knew that this book was part one after that was this little, and I'll highlight it, the little part one right underneath the N in the title that says part one. This is a giant book alone. This version of it, I had to get elsewhere. After I'd already bought this version, thinking that this was the first version, I got this. I didn't get this. My mom got me this version for $1.99 at Savers. Shout out Savers. And also got me the second one. I have the second one. I'm ready to read the second one. This is also a ginormous book, but it's 1,252 pages. Is the first book. That's how long it is. There's no issue. I have no problem with that. I like long books. I enjoy long books. But if you print one edition, that's the whole book, don't split it up. And then only mark it with a tiny part one. That's all I'm asking. It was a good book. Give me the whole book. Anyways, moving on, before I can talk about that all day. The book itself is really interesting. There are a lot of different, POVs in the book. And throughout the book, some POVs are better than others. A lot of the book itself is focused on world building, and which is cool. I like world building. It's awesome. But I'll just give you an example. The character Shallan, their POV in comparison reads like a completely different book to Dalinar and Kaladin, the two other main POVs. It made it so boring. I don't know what else to say, I enjoyed Shallan's POV at the end when stuff started going down. But throughout it, I felt like I was reading Shallan's POV to get to the other two's POV. It was very a politically themed, and not real world politics, but kings and queens and stuff like that. So very she's trying to get something or whatever. But then you compare it to Kaladin, who's in combat every time you're with him, or Dalinar, who's knee deep in all the monarchy stuff and the king stuff. You just compare it, and it reads like a different book, and it wasn't really what I was reading the book for personally. like I said, at the end, I was starting to get a little sold, and I started to enjoy it a little more. I see where, leading into the next book and stuff like that, I'm probably gonna appreciate the perspective more. But for book one, I felt like I was reading it to get to Dalinar and Kaladin's perspective. That being said, Dalinar's perspective started off extremely boring as well, and I was like, I know it's world building, so I gave it a chance and whatever. About a quarter of the way through the book, or halfway through this edition, I started to really enjoy Dalinar's perspective. I started to really enjoy him as a character. I started to really enjoy the characters that were around him, like Sadeas and Adeline and all the other characters and stuff. Um, it was interesting. I'm trying to talk without giving a lot of spoilers. This is my first time doing this, so but Dalinar had a lot of he was placed into a lot of interesting predicaments where there from a third party perspective and the reader reading the book, there wasn't ever a clear like, oh, this is what I would do if I was a character in this book, which is cool. I enjoyed that. Kaladin's perspective was really enjoyable the entire time. I loved reading his perspective. He's my favorite character in the book. He goes through a lot of trials and tribulations, and there also is a lot of flashback sections with Kaladin. I don't remember there being flashbacks for anybody else, but there might be, and I just am a bad reader, so who knows. But I really like how the flashbacks were done as well. There was a really noticeable thing with the flashbacks that were being done with when you went far enough into Kaladin's past, he was going by a childhood nickname. So at the beginning of the chapter, it tells you this is 5 years ago. This is 10 years ago. Whatever it is, but it was really exemplified. You felt like you were reading a younger version of Kaladin, and that was awesome. That was great. Bridge Crew 4, Bridge Team 4, whatever it is, and all the war related stuff that Kaladin gets placed into later was awesome. All the characters involved in that perspective, awesome. One thing did kind of upset me, and this has nothing to do with the book, but this is my own personal life experience and stuff. I have a Dungeons and Dragons character who is a half-orc barbarian that I named Rock. R-O-K, not R-O-C-K. But I named him Rock. And I thought that was really creative. I'd never heard of any character in fiction ever be named Rock with R-O-C-K. There's a character named Rock in this. And this book's been out for 13 years. So, I'm a little behind. And not quite as creative as I thought I maybe once was. But, whatever. I enjoyed the character Rock. I enjoyed Teft. I enjoyed Sigzil is his name, I think. There's a lot of characters throughout Kaladin's perspective. I honestly think Kaladin's perspective interacts with the most characters because he's placed into camps and there's different warriors and stuff. And then I'm trying not to give away spoilers, but he encounters a lot of different characters and stuff. It's a good time. I enjoyed it overall. The pacing of the book kind of, I'm not gonna say surprised me, because the pacing was good for what the book was. I can't argue with that. But everybody I've talked to, and I made a TikTok video of the review of just part one of this book because I was like, I'm halfway through. I finished the book. I'm gonna make a TikTok review because I have to wait to get the other one, and I wanted to do a review, so I did a review halfway, and all of my comments said, and all the people I've talked to that I know in real life that read the book, they were like, the ending is crazy, so much stuff happens, whatever. I got to the ending and I was like, this is what everything's been building up for. I feel like there's a lot of foreshadowing in the book, and there's a lot of you kind of see it coming and stuff. This is what the ending should be for how the book is going. It's a well-written ending. It's very fun. I enjoyed reading it a lot. But it wasn't a meteor randomly comes down and hits the world and the world ends and that's the ending of the book and you don't see it coming. Like, you see the ending coming. It's a fun ending. It's cool. But I would describe, if I was like making a graph of this book and like the pacing of the story, it'd be like the beginning, it's very flat throughout, right? Just starts going up a little bit. Tensions are rising. Stuff is getting intense. And then at the end of the book, it'd probably shoot up about 75% of the way through the book, maybe 80%. I don't know. You definitely feel the like incline, but it's not like as severe as people were making it seem. I feel like maybe I'm crazy and I'm just spouting stuff, but I mean, leave in the comments if you disagree with me. Tell me that I'm dumb and tell me that no, this ending is the craziest ending of any book ever. I don't care. So overall, like, the world building and the plot dynamics was really good. I enjoyed it. I loved how tense a lot of the portions of the book was. I loved how intertwined you felt as a reader and how you really like you could feel the stakes were there, especially for like Bridge Crew 4 and stuff. Like, you felt the stakes going into any encounter with any characters. From Dalinar's perspective, you felt the stakes. Even Shallan's perspective, who I was dogging on earlier, towards the end, you felt the stakes a lot. So overall, Brandon Sanderson, I'm going to show the book again. Good writer. Would recommend. I'd give the book. I'll give the book a 9 out of 10. Honestly, I know like I've dogged on certain. Did my mic just peak? What the heck? I know I like dogged on sections of the book and stuff, but like it was a really good book overall. Anybody who read it should enjoy it, I would think. I also think, I don't know, has there ever been a live action adaptation of this book? I'm gonna check. Give me a second. So I just looked it up. I accidentally stopped the recording, so I'm back now, but whatever. I looked it up. There has not been an adaptation of the Stormlight Archives. There should be. It'd be a great TV show or a great movie or something. If there ever is a live action adaptation, and Brandon, if you're watching this, Big B, Mr. Sanderson, if you need a actor, I could play a great Kaladin or any other character. I'm not gonna lie. It'd be awesome. I'm just throwing that out there. If anybody's watching this that's involved in any way, let me know. Hit my line. I'm really excited to read The Words of Radiance. I cannot wait to read The Words of Radiance. I will be making a YouTube video as a review. Until then, stay safe, stay out of trouble. Read The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. 9 out of 10. Goodbye.